you said they were doing 425. How'd you guys, were you guys basically doing the same thing the next year?
At 475. Well, we changed a couple of simple things. We implemented our system. We had to start answering the phone regularly, and our revenues the first year were over $1 million.
What? Hello and welcome to the Tracer Franchising Podcast, where we speak to great franchisors and franchisees who are doing great job. We have Mo, who's one of the bigger franchisees I've spoken with, 10 stores in AMCO, the automotive franchise, in just a short amount of time, only 4 years. So really excited to speak with you today. Welcome, Mo.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. So yeah, let's just start actually with you. So like, what were you doing before the franchise?
I worked for an international business machine company that go by IBM, and I managed mainframe data centers for them. Before I left them, I was managing 24 locations in 12 states, and all of my data centers were 24/7, 365, lights out data centers. So we never quit. Our staff never went home. We rotated in and out. So the challenges of managing multi-location, multi-state jurisdictions was great, was very exciting. We were problem solvers. There was a reduction in force. I left them. Prior to doing that, I was doing research on different franchises. My family had owned businesses before, and I knew I wanted to do my own thing. I was willing to put in a great deal of effort, and I had so much capital. And AMCO was a good fit for us. Recession resistant, growing business. I lived then and now in North Carolina, so the market was very promising. We had some insight from the IBM days of how many people were moving here, and the amount of income that was coming into the area. And we've been able to grow fast. I owned one store for 15 years, and I fought owning multiple units that long. Corporate came to me and they asked if I wanted to buy another one. We said no. And then I partnered up with another dealer in Greensboro, and we decided that it would be a good fit for us to work together. So we bought the store. My first store took me 6 months to open. The second store took 8 weeks. So we had a playbook, and we had the resources and the banking relationships and the vendor relationships. So we opened the second store in January of 2021. So I don't know if you remember, but apparently we had a pandemic back then. And so it was such a weird situation because banks were lending money. Money was really cheap. So we took advantage of that. We had vendors who had excess inventory. So they were willing to finance it for an extended period of time. And we hired the staff and we opened up. And then we said to ourselves, well, darn, that wasn't that bad. May I have another? So corporate came back to us and said, well, we have this other zone in Burlington. So we went and looked at that. They sent us a listing for a building. It was in an opportunities zone. So the numbers kind of added up, but we just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Wait, let me pause you real quick. The second one was a resale? Like it was already opening? It was already operating?
But the second one was a store went out of business, and we decided not to buy the existing store because it had a poor reputation. Unfortunately, bad owners, bad managers, bad staff, whatever. So it went out of business. We put a deposit down on the zone, and we moved the location a mile down the road to a different building and opened a completely different store without equipment. It was just a automotive shop that was empty. So we took that over, filled it up with equipment, staffed it up, started rolling. So that's what took us 8 weeks to open.
Wow. Yeah. So like it basically was a brand new location. Like you found the real estate, you put everything in it, you've got a new staff. So you're essentially starting from scratch, and you did that in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty crazy. All right. So keep going. What happened next?
No, so we looked at Burlington. It just didn't add up. And then we got a lead on a store in a town called Fuquay Varina, which is in the Triangle. It's about 20 minutes from a Gartner store. And so we went down there. It was an independent transmission repair shop. The owner wanted to get out of the business. So we did a little bit of due diligence, looking at tax returns, P&Ls, type of business. I had lived in Fuquay Arena 30 years ago, and I knew there was a great opportunity in it. The town was growing. And I said, well, all right, well, let's make a deal. So we went to the bank again and said, hey, how about we borrow some more money? And I said, sure. And I said, what are you buying? We're buying these assets, basically. And so the business had done $475,000 the year prior to us purchasing it. And they had a weak reputation, slow business. Remember, now is September, October of 2021. Once again, we're still going through that period of time. And so we made a deal with the guy. We called corporate and said, hey, we have a new zone. Can you create this for us? And they said, yeah, sure. So we added a +1 to the chain, converted the independent to an AMCO, hang our signs on the building. And that took about 6 weeks.
Wow.
Between the lawyers and the banks and the corporate. There
So,
was some staff there. We kept one of the employees.
and when you keep saying like zone, is that like they created a territory for you, like that nobody else?
Right, it's a territory, right? So we don't cannibalize each other. So it had to be far enough from Durham and far enough from Garner and far enough from Cary, another store, so we wouldn't cannibalize each other, and we could be successful.
Okay. And so you purchased it. You said they were doing 425. How did you guys? I mean, were you guys basically doing the same thing the next year, or
So
was
they
it?
did 475. Well, we changed a couple of simple things. We implemented our system. So we required that we open between 8 and 5. They didn't. And we had to start answering the phone regularly. And our revenues the first year were over $1 million.
What? I mean, that goes to show
It's
that just the systems, like same spot, same services, basically. Holy cow!
so it was really impressive, actually. And we found better staff. And of course, we started advertising. But still, just the simple fact that the feedback we got from the customer base in town was, it's great that you guys are here. It's great that now there's somebody here answering the phone regularly and that you're open regular hours. And other than
It's the
that,
simple
we just
things.
simple things. I mean, we were
Wow.
very impressed with the performance of the store. So it's still performing at that level. It's only 3 doors, 3 bays, and 4 lifts. So um, I know we can push $1.5 million, and we're making some changes to get there. We can probably get there in a couple of years.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So we jumped ahead to 3 stores, but I still want to back up. I think you're a veteran, right? So could you talk a little bit about your experience and, do you think anything carried over to business ownership?
I think so. I was in the Navy, as were you.
Marine
Half
Corps.
kidding. He was a Marine.
Marine Corps.
Yeah, you were a Marine. You're part of the Navy.
Yeah,
So
they said the men's
we got to pick
department.
on each other, right? So no, the structure and the willingness to listen and leadership skills and being able to um if you've never been in the military and you've never deployed, it's difficult to understand how much you work. And my wife still doesn't understand why I eat so fast all the time and why I can take a nap anywhere whenever I can. So you get your sleep when you can and you work hard otherwise. So
Yeah.
and that culture is carried over. And I think that's given us some help to kind of lead on the path of, all right, well, this is what it's got to get done, and it's got to get done, and this amount of effort is going to take to get it done, right? So so there's that, the team effort, teamwork. You don't have to like everyone you work with, but you certainly have to put in this 110% effort every day, right? And you see that in the military a lot.
Yeah.
So that's what I got out of that.
Very cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And then I do want to back up to one part of your story. You said you owned one of the stores for 15 years, your first store. Is that right?
Right.
So did you
That's
start it
Garner's.
while you, sorry?
No, yeah, that's a Garner store. I started it from zero. It was a brand new. It was a plus one to the chain when I opened it. It was started with 0 customers, and it was a
Were you working at
struggle.
IBM at the time?
No, I had already been laid off. So I was available, and we were. I was. They laid me off 2 weeks prior to in my mind, the date I was going to quit. So it made my life very simple because I
Yeah.
got a package to get out of there. So it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you were, how did you even decide? Like, so you got, you left the work, or you got laid off, whatever. Sorry. And then you decided to start a franchise, or did this like kind of
No,
just pop up? Like, how
I
did that
was
work?
already doing due diligence, and I was already working on it. I had already signed my contract to start the AMCO. I did that in October 2004. We technically incorporated January of 05, and we opened in July, late June, early July of 05.
Very cool. So what made you said your family beforehand had ran businesses. Is that why you started looking at franchises in the first place?
I knew I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I like the fact that the franchises had a system in place, and obviously the AMCO system was well proven. At that point, we had been in business for over 50 years. So I went and visited AMCO dealers in the East Coast and West Coast. And I like what I heard. I liked the level of success. I knew I could do it too. I recognized the level of effort it was going to take to start from zero. But back then I was young. At that point, I was the youngest dealer in the country at 32. I'm 53 now. So it's been a minute. But I had the right amount of time, energy, and work ethic to get it done. So
How long did it take you initially until you felt comfortable going back and getting a job?
I haven't gotten a job. This is my job.
Oh, I
This is
thought you
what I
said
do
after
every.
your first one, you went and worked for IBM.
No. That was before I
Oh, so you were
started
working for
this.
IBM
Yeah.
in your like 20s and 30s, and then
Yeah.
you ran the one store for 15 years.
Right.
I see. So why did you resist opening more stores?
I didn't want to complicate my life.
Okay.
My life's very complicated right now. There's benefits to it, of course, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to. Well, I certainly didn't want to start from zero, and that's the one thing we did. And number two, right? We started from zero again. We've been able to make progress. The Durham market is very hard to get into, but we're doing well. We're happy with where we are. Our manager there is retiring, so we found a replacement. So we're very happy with that. Um, but so the first store took about 3 years to really take off. Because Garner was a small market, and I lived in Durham, commuted to Garner, so it was a huge amount of effort that went into it. But by 2008, we were doing well, and then unfortunately the economy collapsed right after that. So we struggled through that 08, 09, 2010 period and survived. We come out stronger on the other side. In 2011, we won President's Club because we had grown enough to win the prize.
Wow. Nice.
Um, so that was good. And then um, we were inside at that time inside of a big box store, and they went out of business. So we had to move out of that and relocate the store to a new location.
Oh, wow.
So that was a huge challenge. So in July of 2011, we moved to the current location. We've been here now for 15 years. So and it worked out great because we ended up purchasing the property. We could have never done that over there. So with real estate, here comes the extra benefit of that.
Yeah.
Banks were lending money. Real estate was at a discounted price in 2011 because of the collapse of the economy. So we got a good deal in the building, and the rates were still low, and banks were starting to lend money again. So the timing couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
Um,
Man, it's so
and
cool that like you can say that you've owned this business for so long, right? It's like everyone's fear is like, that 75% of business go out in 5 years, and you've just shown the longevity of this. Really cool. Okay. So let's keep going through the story, right? So I think we were at number 3. You guys purchased a not great transmission and converted over. So what, but you're at 10 now. So like what, keep going.
So we got that done in October. In late November, early December of 2021, we got a call from a dealer that I'd known at that time from field training and all that for a long time now. At that point, I'd known him for 10 years or so. And he had been in the business since 1989. He called and said, "Hey, I heard you bought 2 stores. Now you have 3. How about you come up to Virginia Beach and come look at mine and see if you want to buy it?" I said, "Okay, well, let me make a phone call." And I called my partner, Renee, and I said, "All right, we got this opportunity in Virginia Beach. What are you doing next week?" And I said, "Well, let's go." So we had to delay the trip because it snowed here and there. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Mid-Atlantic region, but when it snows, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
So we made it to Virginia the first week of January. We met with the previous owner, and he gave us his taxes, his P&Ls, and we negotiated for a little bit, and then he said, "Well, there's this other store in town that's for sale. You might want to talk to that owner too." So, well, I've never met him before, like I did you 15 years ago. He goes, "Oh, no problem. Let me introduce him to you." He called him on the phone, had him to come over. We were staying at the Marriott on the ocean front, and we all had breakfast. And we made a deal, and we bought 2 stores.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow. Okay.
So it took 7 months to close. It was mainly between the banks and the seller's remorse. There's such a thing. And we closed on the second store in May, and the first store we made an offer on in July. So we took it over. The first store we bought in Virginia Beach had done about $500,000. It was distressed. The owner really didn't want to be there. He'd been there for 5 years. His father had gifted him the store.
Mhm.
And so we took it over. We found a new manager, and added staff to the store, increased our marketing, and then we bought the second store in July 1st, and we kept the original owner as a manager, and so we're able to grow both businesses. So we doubled the revenues in the first one to about $1 million. The second one was already doing about 900,000, so they did 1.3 the following year.
Wow.
And it's funny because, the previous owner of the second store says, "Well, if I knew I could do all these things, I would never sold it to you." And I'm like, well, it's like, none of these things are secrets. We have a system for a reason. You could have done these things. You chose not to.
Yeah.
And so both stores are doing well. And we're happy with them. We're trying to get them to work together as a unit because they're only 5 miles away from each other. It's difficult to break that mold. I was like, I got 2 units, and in my mind, no, I have 1, and I have 12 bays, and I want you guys to work together and move techs around and move. They're within 10 minutes of each other, so
Wow.
we're
And
gonna
so
get there one day.
that's
Yeah,
crazy that like they can be that close and they're each doing over $1 million, right? So like the demand for AMCO must be like because it's not like Virginia Beach is New York City, right?
true. Although Virginia Beach is a very busy market, the Tidewater area where Virginia Beach is. So Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Newport News, Hampton Roads, Suffolk, all those areas hold about 2 million people. It's a big spread, but you got to think you have Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Army. So you have all the government there and a constant influx of people. In addition to that, you have federal government, state government, plus the local people that live there. In the summer, we get a huge influx
Yeah.
of tourists from farther north and west. So it's a very busy market throughout the year. So we're working on developing commercial work, fleet work, in order to even out our revenues. So we don't have these huge peaks and valleys, but so we can maintain staff and grow some more. Those are the stores that we're interested on. We're just not ready to make that move, but we'll see.
Okay. Very cool. So and those peaks and valleys, is it like the summertime or the peaks?
I mean, the summer's so busy up there that
Yeah.
just you can't help it but just be super wide open busy.
Yeah.
in that period of time, just simply because of the fact that, I mean, I couldn't tell you how much the population growth, but it's got to be at least 15-20%. I
Wow.
mean, you can't get a hotel room in the waterfront for less than $500 downtown. And yeah, it's crazy. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I went there. It must have been, I don't know, 2012 with the Navy when I was at the academy, and it was like
right.
it's kind of sleepy. It's crazy to hear. I guess it's been a long time. Um,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So, what store is that? Is that number five?
Does 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Okay. So keep going. Let's get through all of them.
So then, so now here we are at 6. We had to take a breather. So that was 2022. And we were just trying to make it work, growing the numbers, hiring people, terminating training, coaching, traveling there and back. And um, um, so I own a sole store by myself. My business partner, Vinay, owns one store in Greensboro. So, and the interesting thing is that I trained at the Greensboro store over 20 years ago with the previous owner, and then he ended up buying it, and he came to me to train with, and we developed a great bond and relationship, business relationship, and we see eye to eye, and we think very much alike. Um, and he brings skills to the table that I didn't have, and it just worked out great. So now we're in 2023. We think we're taking a break, and our third partner comes into play is Chad. He owns the Columbia store, and he says, "Hey guys, do you want to partner up and buy the Gastonia in the Charlotte market area stores for sale?" So that was like a Thursday. My wife and I drove to Charlotte Saturday. I did an inventory of the equipment, the staff, the product they had in hand. I looked at his books, and then we called the bank. Then the following week, and we closed. That was July. We closed the first week of September. So about
Wow.
6 weeks later, we owned the store.
You guys
Yeah.
move fast.
Listen, we have a system. We AMCO have a system, and if we know what the rules of the system are, and if you look at the system and you look at what's going on in the store, and you know what the shortcomings are, and then you can kind of come up with a plan of what the shortcomings are, then you can go in there and fix it and move forward.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, as the previous owner gets tired, quit spending time and money and resources in the store, they stop caring, where we come in and bring a new level of energy and new marketing strategy, and different things work in different markets. But ultimately, we use the same vendors across all markets. So we have standards, and we have short conversations about what needs to change. How are we going to do that? All the stores have the same phone system. So therefore, we can all cover each other's phones if needed. If the power were to go down, if you lost internet, so we can remotely log into a store and still take care of our customers. So we've developed procedures that we put in place in order to do all those things. We bank with the same bank, so when you pick up the phone and say, "Hey Josh, I need to borrow another whatever," all you got to do is log on and see where you're at. Right? We continuously feed them financials quarterly for taxes and other investments that we have, so they have a clear picture of where we stand with cash flow, our MP&Ls and ledgers. So we've done those things, and it's worked.
Yeah.
So we open Gastonia, and we hire a new manager, and we hire new staff, and we got marketing, and we're getting cars in, and we're growing, and we just keep marching forward. And so that was 2023. So what is that? So we got Virginia Beach times two, Garner, Fuquay, Durham, Gastonia, Greensboro, and Columbia. So we got 8 now, right? Because we all work together. And so, well, we're doing great. We're not buying any more, right? No, we're good. Well, let's just grow what we got and see what happens. So then Chad gets a call from Aiken, South Carolina, where he had looked at opening an AMCO center the prior year. And it's an independent shop, doing $1 million. And it's a large 8,500 square foot building, would be our biggest building. It's 2.5 acres of parking.
Wow.
And they did $1 million. That was the first time he got into $1 million, 23, 24. So, well, all right, come down. So I drove down on Saturday, and we had lunch with the previous owner, his wife, and Chad. And we took a tour of the property. We got these books, and we discussed what he wanted for it, and if he wanted to sell the property or just the building, and so on and so forth. So fast forward 6 months, we now have another store.
Wow. And
Yeah.
did you own the whole land and everything?
So we bought the building under a different entity, and we bought the business under a different entity converted to an AMCO. So we hang our sign on the building. And
Who's advising you on, like, entity for building, entity for AMCO? Is AMCO doing that internally, or are you guys using, like, lawyers, or local business brokers, or coaches?
yes,
A little bit of
we
everything.
all of that, right? You
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got a basket with a whole bunch of different resources between lawyers, CPAs, AMCO real estate. We knew there was a zone in available territory available in Aiken because there was the prior store that was there. It worked, whereas it made sense to do it. So we called the bank. It's like, oh, by the way, this is the biggest deal we've ever brought to you. Here's what we got. So it took a minute because we had to get the SBA involved.
Those are SBA loans. They've all been SBA loans.
I know this was our first SBA loan.
Okay, so
The
you've been
other
doing,
ones
like,
were,
conventional loans before
yeah,
and putting in
right,
more, like, a higher level of capital, or?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
This would require a greater deal of capital that we didn't want to invest in the business, just simply because we want to hold on to your cash as long as you can, right? So, so we closed in July of 24. And year over year, I think the first year we did between July and December, we did like $800,000.
Wow. So you guys
And yeah, he, he, and the previous owner was stayed on. He had a great reputation in town, so we opted to keep him for a year. He's ended up staying for a year and a half. So 25 was our first complete year, right? It was a good year. There was some training that had to take place that just didn't quite get what they had, and we saw it. So in 24, hold on, we did uh, is that right? 24. We did 875,000
wow.
in 24. And 25, we really got focused on what we needed to do. We did a lot of coaching and training and hiring. And we did $2.3 million.
Wow. I bet that owner was, like, blown away.
Yeah, he just never saw what he had. And
Wow.
I understand. He didn't have any of the support we had. He didn't have a marketing department to reach out to talk about what pay-per-click, what LSA, what SEO, whatever you're going to use. He had no identity, right?
Uh-huh.
He had a name, but red, white, and blue for us, we bleed it, right? We're so entrenched in the franchise and the system that it provides and the support that it brings that many independents don't have, either just general automotive and or transmission shops, right? So we bring those skills and backbone to the table when we took over center. And that's the kind of impact we can have in a center that was successful, that just simply didn't see the people get stuck in their box, and we're ready to tear down and just build a bigger box, right? So realistically, I think we can do better in 26. So the previous owner is gone. That's allowed us to do other things that he was. I don't want to say he was holding back the reins, but ultimately he was a hindrance to the system and what it can really do. So the store is now up 15.9% compared to prior year.
Wow.
So I think that it can do $3 million.
Wow. That's so, is it just because there's more bays? Is that why you can do so much more than the other stores? Or is it just like a crazy location or?
You can go look it up when you have time to see where it is, and you go like, what in the world? It's a big spot, but it's not. It's kind of like in the outskirts of town. It's a small town. It's Aiken, South Carolina. Most people
Yeah.
have never heard of it,
Yeah.
and we just do things slightly different. He only did diesel work and general repair work. We do diesel work, general repair work, and transmission repair. So if you figure that our average AMCO center can do $1 million in transmission repair, if we throw that on top of all the other stuff he was doing, plus whatever improvements we can bring to the table, I don't see how we couldn't. So there
That's
we are.
such a good attitude, right? Like, people aren't asking, most people are asking like, well, how could I do this? And you're like, how can I not?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. So is that number 10?
That's number 9.
Number 9. Okay. So we got one more.
High Point, North Carolina, right next to Greensboro. We were at the summer conference in June. No, June, July. No, wait. No, it was the full conference. And we were in Naples for the conference. It was a week-long conference. And we got a call from the store in High Point, and they said, hey, listen, it had been open for a year, and we tried to help these guys, and they really didn't want help. They had previous experience running quick marts and gas stations, and they thought this would be a quick transition into something bigger. They never followed the system, and they were ready to go out of business on October 31st and close the doors.
Wow.
So we had a conversation with them. I said, well, what do you want? What do you need? And we're like, yeah, that's not going to work. This is what we can do for you. And they're like, all right, we'll take that. And then we went to AMCO. I said, I need help. I got to turn the center around. We can't have this go out of business because we lose one center. In addition to that, I can't have somebody else in my neighborhood running a center. They may run it poorly and it's going to affect me. So how are you going to help me? And they agreed to do certain things to relieve some of the stress in the center. Then we had the lawyer draft the contract. We sent it to them. Meanwhile, I left the country for 2 weeks. And when we came back, we closed.
Nice.
And we took it over. I want to say it was the first week of December.
Okay.
And we're chugging along. We did the same thing we've done everywhere else. You know, it was interesting to see how poorly it had been run. And we were up from where they were, not as significant as we wish, but we just hired another tech, so we'll be able to get some work out faster. Our manager, we moved from Greensboro to High Point and put in a new manager in Greensboro. So now we have 3 techs, 1 manager, and a bunch of cars on the driveway. So things are looking up. I think realistically, the store can do, well, I know it can get to $1 million. It's not going to be as quick as the others. Now that we have 10 stores and we're focused on this, we've hired an ops director. We're developing new processes and moving managers around and retraining them. We just hired a new one that's at school right now. We're sending him to Norfolk to train with somebody outside the organization that's a top producer in the country.
Wow.
And he's going to spend a week up there. The dealer up there has agreed to take him on and train him after school. So he's going to spend 2 weeks training, and he comes with years of dealership experience. So he's got a good background, and then he's going to move to Garner. We're going to take a Garner manager, move him to Fuquay. We're going to take the Fuquay manager and make him the outside sales manager. We're going to develop our outside sales program. We're going to have him focus on the weaker stores, and then we'll see how that works.
Wow. And so, couple of questions from that. You mentioned school. So, like, is there a internal AMCO school for managers?
Yes. So we have AMCO University is down in Newnan, Georgia, and owners go there to learn how to become an AMCO dealer. Service managers go there to learn how to become managers. We have R&R is removed and reinstalled. We have an R&R class for younger techs, greener techs, to learn how to be more efficient and productive when removing transmissions. Then we have Builder 101 and Builder 102 in Newnan in person, where they get to tear down transmissions, go through the hydraulics basics of all the inner workings of it, and then put it back together and then put it back in the car and see if they work. So there are certain requirements that need to be performed before you go to school, and those are on our learning center online. So AMCO has a virtual portion of it with hundreds and hundreds of courses, and there's no cost for any of our employees to attend any of these classes other than travel. And if it's virtual, of course, none. But we want the people that go to school to be prepared for school, so they get a heads up. Well, hey, this is what we're going to cover. If you haven't passed this, you can't go there. And it's worked well. We just recently redesigned the school. Chad and I attended 2 of the 5 days of school back in the first week of December to I don't want to say audit the class, but we talked to the CEO at the conference and said, hey, would it be a trouble if I and Chad went to the class? And it was kind of a pause. It's like, well, why? It's like, we just want to know what you guys are doing. Because if we need to change something, we need to change it there so it affects what I do in the field in a positive way. If you're just, I don't want to say that you're wasting your time, but there are things that we see in theory that we don't see in the field, that, or vice versa, that we need to apply to the class. And we love to provide feedback. I said, we'll sit in the back, we'll observe. And then if David, the teacher, wants to call on us, we'll gladly do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Great experience. The class was awesome. Dave called on us. He had a large class, 12, 13 people plus us. And he called on us they're going to the theory and the phone scripts and all of that. And we talked about the essential tools and skills you need to do the job. And it was we gave them good feedback, and the guys who were in class appreciated that. So I suggested to them that they have a guest owner every time they do a class. There's plenty of owners in Georgia and South Carolina that can attend the class and just drive there. And I think it would be useful and helpful for the chain as a whole. So
Yeah. Are they doing that?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
just provide ideas.
Yeah. But still, right? Like the fact that they worked with you for that underperforming store, right? You said they gave you some sort of concessions and then we're open to this. It's nice to have a partner that's open to ideas, right? Some franchisors are just like, no, it's this way or no way, right? So it's really cool. And then as far as the schools go, does that help with retention? Like, do you keep guys from like young techs for a long time since you're providing this ongoing training?
We make it available to all the technicians and all the employees. Some people tend to appreciate training and education more than others.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Technicians can be slightly different characters. The idiosyncrasies can be wide. So I think it does help. I think they like to get away from here once in a while it makes a difference. The guys are going to a training in Charlotte this weekend, so they'll be there Saturday, in tuning and programming. And so they're leaving today in about an hour and a half. They'll drive to Charlotte, which is about 2.5 hours. They'll spend the night, and then they'll go to training tomorrow and then come back home. So
It's also cool you mentioned that it sounds like owners do a lot of training for other owners, whether it's the new owners or whether it's their managers. Is that pretty common?
it is. So some of us may do more than others, and the guy coming to train with you will get as much as he wants out of it. The way my philosophy in training owners is that I literally let them see what I do every day in, day out. And so I trained one about 5 years ago. We started with one store, and now he has two, and it's in the process of buying two more. So I really like the guy. We think very much alike. We've partnered in different things. He's going to be successful. He is successful. This past summer, I had two trainees. One of them was buying 5 stores in Texas, and he really took to heart everything I said, and he hung in there with us even when we went out to dinner at 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes you just have to. We went to a political rally and a fundraiser, and I mean, you got to be entrenched in your community, right? So, and you got to give back to your community. And I showed both of them that you got to participate. You belong here. Your
Mm.
customers are your neighbors. You got to be a scout leaders with your children's, friends. That's the kind of stuff that I don't say we don't teach that at the corporate level, but every market is different, and we all run our stores differently from a personal point of view, although we follow the system. But there's a lot of things you simply don't think about unless, listen, I've wasted a lot of time doing a lot of knucklehead things. So I teach these guys, it's like, hey, listen, don't do that. If you ever come up with an idea, give me a call. I'll let you know whether or not I spend money on that. It didn't work or it did work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I had another owner who wanted to buy a franchise and be an absentee owner. And I said, really, you got to get involved and you got to move to where your store is. The one guy that I trained was moving from Atlanta to Texas to be with the stores. The other guy is in Maryland. It's a 2-hour commute one way and refuses to move.
Dang.
But it's your business. You do what you need to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been around for a while, right? And I think AMCO was even purchased in the last 5 years by like a private equity company or something.
Right.
How have you seen things change over that timeline?
Since I bought my store in 2005, I think we've been bought and sold for 4 or 5 times.
Oh, wow.
It has made no difference at the local level. The priorities of corporate have changed, but ultimately I serve my customers the same way as I did before. So as long as you continue to provide good service and to your customers, you should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've bought several stores from owners and or turned them into something that was much better. What do you think is the difference between you or how you run your stores and those owners, right?
We spend a lot of time, energy, and resources developing our people and finding the right people. Which unfortunately means that sometimes you have to let go of people that it's just simply not a good fit. No, having the right people on the bus in the right seat makes a huge difference. You may be a great whatever, but if you don't fit into what we're trying to do, and you don't put in the right amount of effort, it's just not going to work. And we give our managers a lot of responsibility, and the compensation that they get is based on what they do. So if you're a self-starter and you're willing to put in the time and the effort and you learn from what we taught you and don't think that you can do it better than we can, you can do quite well.
Do you have a system for hiring the right people, measuring their output, knowing when to get rid of them and replace them?
We do. So we measure gross profits on the front end and the sales side. On the backs, the technician side, we measure effective labor rate, hours produced. You know,
And I don't need the specifics. You have specific like numbers, and that's how you're measuring them off of. It's not like a qualitative kind of feels right thing.
right. So the ops director is going to keep close tabs on that. We're developing new tools where every store will have to input data into spreadsheets, which we've never had before.
Mhm.
So he'll be able to see how things are trending up or down. And then we can kind of like, all right, well, what's going on? Why is our GP this and not that? And we all understand that, hey, your comp is based on this. What's going on? What do we need to focus on?
Mhm.
Additionally, we brought on AI tools to help us with, we live and die by the phone, right? So we train you, we coach you, we teach you, we measure how you're doing individually by the store. So you can log into the portal and see how each person is performing on the phone and if they're actually following the directions we've given them. It's
Mhm.
amazing the amount of insight we have into whether or not you're following the training we've given you. And we see clearly that when you don't, the numbers go down. So we spend a lot of money in marketing to get the phones to ring. So we need to make sure that our managers are following our directions so we can make an appointment. And once we get the customer here, we treat them right, we check them in, and then we provide a service where we look at the vehicle through a digital vehicle inspection, and then we give them a quote for whatever. We have financing available. So we'll measure all those things along the process with the AI tool because it's on the phone and our
Mhm.
calls are being recorded and measured.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. So you guys have, it sounds like sometime old school, right, with spreadsheets as well as some cutting edge technology. Okay. What what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Right? So you have 3 partners, like what does your day look like? Or 2 partners, sorry, there's 3 of you.
So early in the morning, I go to a coffee shop where I start my day there for about 30, 40 minutes. I hang out with a group of business owners where we talk about business, life, relationships, and we give advice to the world. Nobody listens. The kids at the coffee shop have nicknamed us the Mean Girls. So I sit at the Mean Girls table. We don't have a single girl in our group. It's just all man, bunch of old guys, and and we have engineers, accountants, business owners, and we just talk about what business is like and how do you hire, fire, that kind of thing. And nothing structured. It's all just plain conversation. And I make it to work by 8 o'clock. I talk to my managers up front, my shop foreman in the back, and then what do you got? What you got? Any challenges? Do you need help with anything? And then I get to my office and I check the numbers. I make sure that the deposits went through. Our managers report to us every morning with what they collected. We make sure that those collections went into the bank. So we reconcile all those things every day. And then there's always a phone call here, a phone call there that needs to be taken care of by mid morning. I need another cup of coffee, so I get that. But a lot of it is just thinking about how do we make things better, looking at what we're doing today and how do we fix that
Mhm.
if it's broken, so we can look at trends and how we answer the phones, what our revenues are, what our work in progress is, and then how do we increase the output of every shop? Is it tools? Is it training? Is it staffing? So throughout the day, I speak to my ops director, my business partners, with vendors. We're continuously measuring our costs and how do we save on insurance and whatever things that are necessary in order to cut our fixed costs so we can increase our net profits. And we push our guys up front to increase our gross profit so we can pay our bills, right? So those are the kind of things that I do every day. Plus, there's plenty of travel. We have 10 stores. We need to go visit them. So
Very interesting. What advice do you have? Well, before we get to that, sorry, what's the best part of you would say of like owning the AMCOs and owning 10 of them and doing what you do?
um, I find that exciting. The business development part of it, I find it very exciting. Dealing with my customers is good. We have some really great customers. Being involved in the community and representing AMCO has created great friendships in my life. It's a profitable business, so it's allowed me, my wife, and my kid to travel extensively. We've developed a real estate portfolio. I mean, we live a good life. I'm very thankful for what we have, and believe in it. I'd certainly do it again.
You
Good.
kind of talked about what you like about it. Next is, I guess, advice. First, for people who are thinking about AMCO, right? Like, how do you know that you're going to be a good AMCO owners? Because there's obviously people who weren't good AMCO owners, right? So how do they know that they're going to be like you, right? Like, what do you kind of look for in a good owner?
Boy, you need to realize you're going to have to put in a lot of work up front to learn the system and become familiar with it. You should speak to as many AMCO dealers as you can when you're doing due diligence. You're welcome to come visit any of my stores at any time. We'll give you a tour and you can see what reality looks like. I think um, you need to understand that um, success will come with the effort, and you will get as much as you can out of it, but you will have to put in a lot. I dedicated years to growing my business from nothing to what it is today, and the efforts paid off. We see that the guys that failed have quit putting effort into their businesses. And I'm sure you could say that about many other businesses. I don't want to say we're much more attention intensive than other businesses, but you got to have the right staff. You can't just hire anybody that comes through the door. You got to be willing to pay the right people for the right effort. And, and the fact that, I talk to dealers regularly throughout the country to get their input on how they do things. Guys that are significantly more successful than I am and not, because you know what? We all have an opinion and we all have great ideas, but if we can share those with each other, and that just made it has made a great deal of difference in my world. I talk to Casey Valinsky out in Omaha all the time, and his market could be any more different than this one, right? I talk to Sam down in Austin, Texas. I just called Sam down in Clearwater, Florida. I talked to Peter in New Jersey. I talked to George in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is 10 miles down the road. So you got to put in the effort and you got to get to know these guys and you got to be able to work well with others. You know, I just attended a National Creative Committee meeting, and one of the things we said is like, listen, we got 8 stores in my demographic area, and when we advertise, we're gonna run a tag for 1-800-GO-AMCO, because I really don't care where that car goes as long as it comes to one of the stores that are AMCO centers, right? So it doesn't really matter whether it goes to George's or my stores or Joe's and Carrie. It should just come to an AMCO regardless. And if we have a strong voice where we say, this is what we do and this is how we do it, and we all provide the same level of service, and then it shouldn't matter. You can't be 911, 77, whatever. Just let's be 100 Go AMCO because we're AA beep beep MCO. We're those guys, right? So you're going to get the AA beep beep MCO service everywhere you go. So let's get them in and let's get them done.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to start doing that nationwide. So you'll start hearing our ads. So look forward to that.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. And then last question for you is, what about advice for people not, they're not even in the process where they're looking at AMCO. They're just like, maybe I should own a franchise. Maybe I should own my own business,
No.
right? I've got this job. Maybe, it's not fulfilling me. It doesn't have the time constraints. It's got too many time constraints, like whatever it is. What about that guy? What's the advice you have to that person?
Unless you're a lawyer or a CPA and you have that very specific skill where you do those things and you want to just simply own a business but don't know what that is, the franchise system provides you with a roadmap from start to finish to do something to make a living and fulfill your dreams if you follow that system without having to reinvent the wheel. That's the benefit of a franchise. And in our case, you get all the tools, the name brand recognition, and the skills to get it done. So that's the difference between just starting your own business from zero and owning a franchise.
Well, I couldn't say any better myself. So, Mo, thank you so much for being here. Once again, I'm Josh Emison with Tracer Franchising. If you want free education, matching to great franchises like AMCO, and help doing research, visit tracerfranchising.com. Mo, thanks again. I learned a lot today.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you.